All right, no, I'll select the right one again. Restream, Jesus. Yeah. All right, that's going to take here in a second. Let's fade to black. And starting in 5, 4, 3.
Gummy bear.
It's the internet. You're busy. Let's do this for November 14th, 2024 for the next hour or so. Let me help you sort through the world of gaming on Game Mess Mornings Live with me, Jeff Grubb. Today, reviews dropped for an anticipated new RPG, and old, and PlayStation's latest Switch game. But first, please join me in welcoming today's co-host to Game Mess Mornings. It's Jan Ochoa, everybody. Jan, how are you doing?
Still a solid 60%. I'm concerned I may never get back to 100, but that was before I went to the hospital.
Is it oscillating at all, or is it a solid 60%? Because I'm not sure which one would worry me more.
It's like a solid 60.
Yeah, that's right. 'Cause then that feels like, oh, is this just the new 100?
Yeah. And then I fear that I'll start expanding. What is it when you get a promotion but it's not a real promotion?
Right, a side motion.
A side motion. Yes. We're good at words, folks. That's why I'm here on Thursdays.
We're poets, is what they say.
Lateral. There we go.
Yes, lateral, and yes, absolutely.
This may feel like a lateral expansion of my energy, where instead of going up, I'm just gonna keep staying at 60, but to the side.
I'm gonna be at Disney next week. I'm gonna laterally expand at every meal. I cannot wait. It's gonna be a good time. Yeah, I'm doing all right. I think it's like those days where I actually get sleep. That's helping, and then going outside is helping. But I'm just still not doing either of those things enough. I need to get a streak going, and I should do that now, because it's like when else I'm gonna wait and get more into the dumps here. No, I'm just gonna sleep more and go outside, and that's the big plan. Yeah.
What about sleeping outside?
Listen, I'm not against it. In fact, I'm for it. Fresh air, okay. That sounds real good, real nice. It was when I was playing Call of Duty with Nikki the other night. They said that they forget, like when you do something and it's like, oh, this made me feel better, or hey, I did this and it made me feel worse. Either way, you forget. So it's like I forget how good like working out makes me feel, and it's like, oh, if I could just remember that, I would probably do it more. But I don't. All right. Let's explain what we do here. Most weekdays, I, Jeff Grubb, will help piece your gaming life back together. That includes breaking news and maybe even some of our own original reporting. For all these topics, I'll get the input of a bona fide expert who will make me look smart. If you are watching live on Twitch, welcome. You can always listen to the show later on podcast feeds by searching for Game Mess Mornings, or find the RSS on giantbomb.com. You can also catch the show later with chapters and timestamps on YouTube. Hello, YouTube. All right, we have a lot to get into, so let's start the morning mess with Dragon Quest III HD 2D Remake reviews are out. Quite a few reviews came out now. It has an 85 on OpenCritic. It kind of moved up and down a little bit, but it seems like it's settling in at around 85. Got 3 stars from Daniela Lucas at Eurogamer, who wrote, "Some excellent enhancements make this the ultimate version of Dragon Quest III, but it could still do more to make it wholly welcoming to newcomers." Then Carrie Brunskill from PC Gamer gave it a 91 out of 100 and said the exact opposite. Dragon Quest III HD 2D is welcoming for newcomers, a fan's dream, and a truly timeless classic. And then it got 4.5 stars from Chris Shiv at Hardcore Gamer, who wrote, "Dragon Quest III HD 2D Remake is how a classic game should be remade. The new graphic style brings Dragon Quest III into the modern era while maintaining the original iconic designs. The quality of life improvements also make the 36-year-old game feel modern without sacrificing the core elements of the original experience." Jan, I read a little bit of these reviews here and there, and the consensus seems to be it's still Dragon Quest III. And that means lots of random encounters and a need to grind so that you're appropriately leveled for some later encounters in the game. That's what that game always was. They did not change that, and it doesn't sound like they have an option or a slider to reduce the need for grinding or to reduce the number of random encounters. So if that stuff bothers you, it's going to bother you here. And yet, this is still the best way to present this game, and they did make a lot of improvements, and it looks real nice. So
Yeah.
I have it. I'm going to start playing it, I think, just to maybe look at it mostly for me personally.
Yeah, I wanted to get this going so we could talk about it when the review embargo dropped, or at least on the Bombcast. But I have a very long flight coming up, and this seems like the perfect game to play on that. The game looks absolutely gorgeous. I'm glad that Dragon Quest is getting some love because Dragon Quest has felt like the forgotten child at Square Enix for a while now. But yeah, I agree with a little bit of the grinding mentality. I could do without it, or at least some type of option to get rid of it, to just streamline the experience for players. Just because I don't want to say grinding is outdated, but it just is very tiresome when there's so many other games out. That being said, there's portions of Metaphor, Infinite Wealth, even Rebirth this year that did have a little bit of that grinding culture still associated with it. But hey, if you have always been curious about Dragon Quest, I think this is like the perfect like entryway.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not of the opinion that grinding is inherently a bad thing. That's that's playing the game in a lot of ways. It is so in order to play this game, I got to play more of the game, is what you're saying when you tell people you got to grind. Obviously, too much of anything can be bad. I think there's a point where grinding becomes boring. That is also true. So, I guess personally, I would not have minded if they would have taken maybe an editor's eye with modern gamers in mind and their sensibilities in mind, and said, hey, let's just create a modern difficulty option that tries to respect people's time maybe a little bit more, but still keeps the grinding in there to some degree, and maybe provides a sort of a balance. But they doesn't sound like they did that, and at the same time, doesn't sound like that's going to ruin the experience for most people. It just meant if you have a predilection against that sort of thing, then maybe so.
Yeah, if this is your first foray into like a JRPG, and your first foray into like having to grind for levels to beat encounters, this may be a little bit off-putting.
Right.
But I mean, I hate to say it, but for fans of the genre, Grubb, I think this will be a very... This feels like a perfect game for the holiday break coming up.
Yeah, for sure.
Just tuck in.
Yeah, for me, maybe it's not the grinding so much. I never loved, I like turn-based battles. I like RPGs vaguely here or there. I'm not a huge JRPG guy, but I've liked some here and there. It was always the random encounters that I was like, I don't love this. I think that was one of the things early on where it's like, oh, Super Mario RPG is very much for me, because I could see the enemies on screen. I approach them, I go after them. It's just a mental thing, I think, at a certain point, just like a little block there. And I think the genre as a whole is like, we're keeping turn-based battles, but we are shifting away from random encounters for the most part, not entirely, obviously.
Yeah, actually, I think that is the thing that upsets me the most, Grubb. Having to do random encounters, just because, God, even in a game like Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, being able to see the Pokemon that you specifically wanted to catch, like, improve the experience.
It's a huge
so
improvement.
Much.
Yeah, I kind of don't want to go back in Pokemon, which is like, one of those franchises like, no, random encounters. That's the whole thing. You're going out and you don't know what you're going to get. It's like, I kind of want to know what I'm going to get. I think it makes it better, and it does.
Yeah. But that being said, it's great to see reviews for a remake of an old-ass game, Grubb, getting a lot of love. 36 years old? Is that for real?
Yeah, that's wild. Yeah, I mean,
oh my God.
I guess that makes sense, right? The Famicom would have been out in 84.
Yeah, the family computer.
The family computer, yes, which Dan also didn't know. It was family computer for Famicom. There you go. So you got a buddy there. And I was born in 83, and I'm 41, gonna be 42. So yeah, I'm 36, as that would have been a later NES game, later Famicom game. Yeah.
I'm curious if this inspires Square Enix to go ahead and try and... I mean, they've been on this trend of doing HD 2D remakes. HD 2D has been like the hotness for some subset of JRPGs. I'm curious as to what they may be planning to also do next. Hey, Chrono Trigger's right there, y'all.
I mean, I think that would work very well. I mean, Chrono Trigger already looks timeless. It looks timeless. You
Yeah.
don't need to do much to it. But I bet it would look really good if they did HD 2D. And I think there's people who are a little bit over HD 2D. I think that is more some HD 2D games were garish, were a bit too much. We're kind of like turning the bloom up to 50 out of 10, and it seems like they've really dialed it in here, where it's like they took an editor's eye and said, what would make this game look the best, not the most. And
Yes.
I think that they are taking artistic bent towards it now, and that is a good sign for the longevity of this HD 2D idea. I think they could do this a lot more.
The Star Ocean remakes from earlier this year, absolutely gorgeous, and they were skewed a little bit differently than the HD 2D style that we normally see. Oh geez, man, what a good year for JRPGs, RPGs in general.
Yep. I
started Dragon Age: The Veilguard the other night.
How's it treating you?
I think I like it. I like it.
That seems to be the sort of the response I hear most frequently is, I think this is okay. I think I like this. And it's okay, but with that increase in the pitch at the end of the sentence. So I think this is okay. I'm surprised. I like this so much. Some people, it does. The pitch goes down. I think it's okay, but for the most part, people seem mostly positive on it in a hey, I'm surprised by this sort of way. Yeah, a lot of RPGs this year. As a genre, it's like, if you are going to ask people to come and dedicate a portion of their personal fandom budget of hey, I'm going to be a fan of something, RPGs seems to be the right genre to do that in. It's like you can kind of get an attachment to somebody for a long time.
Yeah. Definitely. You don't see people getting attached to the Nicki Minaj model in Call of Duty. Actually, never mind.
Just us.
Just us.
The other review that popped off yesterday is Lego Horizon Adventures. It's at a 72 on OpenCritic, which, to be fair, it bounced up from where it started. It was in the high 60s on OpenCritic when it first popped off. So it's climbing up a little bit lower than I was expecting based on the time I had with it at the Summer Game Fest at the Keighley Summer Festival, where I played it and I'm like, this seems pretty fun. This seems like kind of lighthearted and kind of joyous. 72 on OpenCritic though. 5 out of 10 from Dalton Cooper at Game Rant, who writes, Lego Horizon Adventures has some things going for it, but it's a boring game that fails to live up to other Lego or Horizon titles. 2 stars from Catherine Castle at Eurogamer, who writes, too simple and childish for adults and too one note to convert the kids. Lego Horizon Adventures does little to recommend it to either existing Horizon fans or series newcomers. And then Mark Delaney at GameSpot gave it a 7 out of 10. Says, via bricks and minifigs, Horizon is charmingly remade for a younger audience, though its formulaic missions may strain players of all ages. Do we get a code for this? I might ask for one, just to see if I kind of want to see my kids' reactions to it, because they haven't seen anything from Horizon. Well, that's not true. They saw it in Astrobot. They saw the stage in Astrobot, and so here's another take on this game. Here's the real game over there. I'm just like, hey, does this do anything for you? Are you more curious about this world? Look at this heroic woman doing stuff. Is that something that you as little girls are interested in? Maybe so. We'll see. This is the game that, they're still playing a ton of Tears of the Kingdom. Like, well, when Breath of the Wild came out, this is the game that that was the game that distracted everyone from Horizon. Or maybe you want to check that out now. I don't know what the reaction will be. They haven't played a lot of Lego games either, though, so maybe they'll be interested in that. I don't know.
Sure.
A lot of the reviews, Jan, are people saying, I don't know who this is for. And, I'm not someone who finds that a very useful thing to say in a review. Like, we say it all the time on this show, so I get the sort of urge to want to say that. But in a review, just tell me, is it for you? Are you having fun? Don't imagine someone else that'd be like, is this for them? And yet I totally get what people are saying. It's like, if it is not for Horizon fans and it's not necessarily super engaging or for kids even, who this is for is pretty damning, right?
Right. I mean, this feels like a slight misunderstanding as to the existing PlayStation audience or Horizon fan base, where Horizon has always felt like a fairly serious type of game. And that's pretty involved and expects you to get invested into Aloy's story and
Right.
get invested into the world. That putting it in Lego form feels a little bit too twee, and a different type of whimsy than the series is kind of pushing you to feel. So it feels like a misunderstanding of that, and I don't necessarily think that the existing Horizon fan base uh, is skews that young to want a Lego version of a game. Also, I just don't. I understand that the Horizon franchise as a whole is much bigger than this website would lead you to believe.
Oh, for sure.
But that being said, again, I don't think the Horizon fans are particularly clamoring for another entry into the world of Horizon through the guys or through the Lego vehicle, right?
Yeah, you know what it reminds me of? When a corporation is like, look, we have this thing and we want growth. So
Yeah.
let's have a meeting. Let's put a meeting on the schedule, invite all the stakeholders here, and everyone throw out ideas for what can we do to get a new audience into this thing. And people just throw out stuff and they're like, it's like half-hearted and they don't really believe in it, but they're just trying to keep the meeting going. And someone says, Horizon, we can get that to grow. But what if we reached out to kids? What can we do to reach out to kids? And they just like, I don't know, kart racer, this or that. Maybe we can do one of those Lego games. And then some like older person or some like the higher ups say, oh, I've seen my kids play those Lego games. That'd be great. Do one of those. And it just sort of happens because people are like, this is what we kind of want this to happen. And we think this is the vehicle to make that happen. And no one really understands. No one really involved in this understands will this is actually going to work?
Yeah.
And then we kind of end up with this. It's odd. And
Right.
I think we always felt that way. And now kind of seeing the delivered product getting received this way, it's like, okay, it is exactly what we thought it was going to be. Now, Sean in chat has been playing it. Apparently, Sean in chat, Turbo Sean's been playing it. And he says that he's been enjoying it. It's simple, but fun. And he also agrees it's kind of aimless in terms of the audience that it's trying to reach. Yeah. The game's out on Switch though, so
the bummer part of it also being on Switch, Grubb, is that I think this has a high likelihood of outselling Astrobot.
You're not wrong. That's, oh boy, ouch. Yeah, you're wrong. You're not wrong. It's a kid's game with a brand name and maybe some marketing on a Switch where those kinds of games just sort of sell. Lego games just sort of sell. I bet it at least matches what
It
Astro
at least
did.
matches, and for the Lego diehards out there are existing
lot of those,
or
yeah.
Horizon. At least there's the long neck creature Lego set from Horizon. So that's there. I don't know. Like when I think of Lego Star Wars or even the other Lego offshoots of other games, it just feels like a fun Easter egg hunt or a fun reliving of the different franchises or movies. I just don't feel that with. I don't have that desire with Horizon, but maybe that's because I don't like Horizon.
Yeah, I'll say when I played it, it was like, I vaguely remember starting those games, and they're making a lot of jokes that even I get about the story, and I do really like the Lego sense of humor. And, the Lego Star Wars specials, the Lego Star Wars TV shows, they have a very sharp wit to them, and that is preserved here, at least through the first little bit that I played. And it's like, oh yeah, this skewed take on this very serious story. It's like, I know that does work for me, and yet I think you're still right in that. When you say when you ask someone, do you want that? I think most people will be like, no, I don't know. And then I think once they play it, they'll be like, oh, this is fine. Sure, I'll accept this. I'll enjoy this. But it's not something I was asking for. And there's a gap always between serving people something they don't know they want and something people think they don't want. I think it's something that people think they don't want. Not that they I don't know if I want that.
Yeah. Someone had joked around in chat. It was either this or Lego Last of Us. I'm not gonna lie, Grubb. I think I'd be into Lego Last of Us.
That would be very interesting. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, but this game apparently shows they explain cultists to kids and stuff in the game. So yeah. Well, there's always going to be that weird thing of like, this is a mature idea. Let's put it into a Lego game, and then let's turn it into a fun kids story.
I guess if they wanted to do this with any of their other existing franchises, again, Horizon wouldn't be my first Sony pick, right? I would think of a Lego God of War would also be funny.
Yeah.
Last of Us, even like a Lego Ratchet and Clank or
Lego Days Shawn.
A Lego Days Shawn. Yeah. Imagine a motorcycle completely built out of Lego. Lego Uncharted would be funny.
Yeah. I hope that, you know what, I don't know if I hope, but I wouldn't mind if this turns into like, oh, okay, well, that was fun. Let's do that again with all our other franchises like you're suggesting. And I hope this doesn't derail it at the very least. If we never get another PlayStation first-party Lego game based on one of their franchises, I'm not going to bat an eye. I'm not going to lose any sleep.
Sure.
But if they show up like a year and a half from now and they do have one of those ones you mentioned, I'm like, okay, I'm glad they're doing this. This seems like a decent way of taking what they have and trying to reach more kids. Sure, maybe it didn't work great with Horizon, but that doesn't mean give up on it. And that's where I'm at. If this is not for me, if this is not for my kids, okay, maybe the next one could be.
Yeah. If this means that Sony is trying to skew towards younger audiences or have more fun in general, I'm all for it.
Yep. All right, let's keep rolling here with this first story outside of the reviews. Phil Spencer says Avowed wasn't delayed due to quality concerns. This is from Tom Ivan at VGC. Microsoft has said that Avowed's delay wasn't the result of quality concerns with the game. Obsidian's RPG was once scheduled for release this year, but in August, Xbox said it was pushing the title to February 2025. With Microsoft having a relatively large first-party lineup for late 2024, it said at the time that it wanted to give players' backlogs some breathing room. Spencer discussed the delay in further detail in an interview with GameFile. Shoutouts to Stephen Totillo and GameFile. We can afford it when we have the Diablo expansion, then Black Ops, then Indie, and the Great Circle, he said. We didn't move it because Obsidian needed the time. They'll use the time. Spencer added, Xbox Game Studios head Matt Booty and I, we planned it out. We talked with the Game Pass team. We said, okay, let's make sure we pace this out a little better. Okay. Jan, let's accept everything he's saying at face value first and say, okay, they are trying to make sure they spread out these games to give each game the best chance to succeed. Isn't that something that we've asked them to pay attention to in the past?
Totally. 100%. Because Microsoft is releasing so few games, make every game feel like an event.
Right.
Like a tentpole.
Yeah, and it's this I think does increase the chances of Avowed being able to do that. The Call of Duty, turns out Black Ops 6 did take a lot of oxygen out of the room. People were right to get out of the way of that game. They know what they're doing. That's why everyone did sort of like, that's why it feels like, oh man, is the year already over? Now there are still games coming. Obviously, we just talked about some, but it feels like a lot of big publishers got out of the way and they knew to do that and they were right. And Microsoft might have known better than anyone how Black Ops 6 was trending. It's like, let's just not have Avowed be caught in that wake. Let's see if we can give it its own space earlier in next year. Now, early next year is not some dearth of games. There's not some dearth of games. There's going to be a lot of stuff coming out in February specifically. Mm-hmm. It's very busy. So, but maybe none of those are Black Ops 6, right?
I guess I still fear for Avowed having to deal with other games even in that February time slot because it took me a hot second to remember what Avowed even was, Grubb. And if we who are trying to stay on top of the release calendar are having that issue, it doesn't bode well for Avowed's future if they choose to dump it in February. And I hope that it isn't being dumped, and I hope it's actually being propped up. And like refocus to give it that proper attention upon release.
Yeah, I think it's part of it is maybe to build a little bit better of a marketing plan for the game. They were probably getting pretty close to. Yeah,
but Grubb, like if it's gonna be releasing around the same time as Monster Hunter,
yes,
and I know that they're two very different games. Avowed is more
right
Skyrim-esque, right? I feel like that Monster Hunter audience has grown so much over the last couple of years that with money being tight as it is, right? they're going to hold their dollars and purchase Monster Hunter instead of Avowed.
I think you're right that it's, we talk about Matt Piscatella at Circana, the industry tracking firm, talking about black hole games that just have these massive gravitational wells that suck everything in. Monster Hunter is not one of those, but it's like a mini one of those where it, like every time a new one comes out, it does sort of have its own a well of gravity that does capture a lot of people, and it's getting bigger. And it does feel like it could be, in the early part of next year, could be the biggest one. At a certain point, though, you got to just release a video game. And if you have it done, you got to put it out. And if you are looking at what you can control, which is your own games, and you do have Indiana Jones and Black Ops 6 and Diablo expansion, you're like, okay, and the holidays are going to be a bit messy because that, and people are feeling a little bit squeezed on their wallet. Maybe they feel a little bit better in the early part of next year. And we put it out then. And maybe they also are coming off of, hey, I just did get Black Ops 6, or I got Game Pass because of Black Ops 6. And what am I looking forward to next to play? Maybe, okay, I guess this Avowed game is something to pay attention to. Now, I think you're right that a lot of people aren't paying attention to Avowed. It's not breaking through. But that's okay. Now they have a little bit of time to begin that story. Maybe they can accomplish that. The last round of previews were more positive, I think. So if they can do another one of those, get one more push, I think that can help. Now, let's disregard all that and say, I don't know if I believe him when he says that it wasn't about quality. Maybe it's not entirely about like, oh, this was a bad game and we're just fixing everything, but it's like that last, few weeks of polish probably is going to help make it a better game, right?
100%. 100%. For a game that is maybe have previewed not the best, I think that they need to get out the gate completely fine and 100% Grubb, where if this game even is hinted at having a couple issues performance-wise or gameplay-wise, whatever, it's going to inhibit a lot of people from picking it up, even as like a curiosity buy. Even if they're not necessarily into Monster Hunter, they're not into Black Ops 6, and they're still looking for a Skyrim adjacent game to play. I don't know if any negative buzz around it performance-wise is gonna help.
Right. And then let's see, what else do they have for? We'll talk about South of Midnight in a second. But if I'm trying to remember, what else does Microsoft have for next year that they've like confirmed? It's these two games, and then there's a lot of possibility for maybe even Perfect Dark to come out, something like that. Fable that could come out. So, and then if these games are like, oh, it's about giving this game its own space, Avowed, maybe that does mean like, so that stuff is definitely in the later half of next year, which I think we all kind of are feeling is probably the case. All right, let's get this next one. I just added this into here. Classic RTS games, Warcraft and Warcraft 2 fully remastered they have been fully remastered and they're out now. This is from Zach Swisen at Kotaku. Blizzard has announced that the original Warcraft and Warcraft 2, as well as its expansions, are being remastered and re-released as part of a new battle chest. This new package also includes Warcraft 3 Reforged, which has received a new updates improving its visuals, and all this is available now. Now, we knew this, but there's also like, okay, we can see how these games look now, and I'll say as someone who'd never played a lot of Warcraft, when I see the updated visuals, I don't see much of a difference, but a lot of people who really like Warcraft are like, this new shit looks like shit. They hate it. It's so I think the problem is like they're taking the classic sprites and putting them through filters that maybe smooth them out a bit too much, which I hate when that happens in my games, and so I appreciate that. I'm just like looking at it and be like, I don't know, it looks kind of the same to me. So again, I'm not someone who this would affect, but yeah, why can't they get these Warcraft remasters right? They struggled with Warcraft 3 Reforged, and as part of this, I think they made some updates to that too. But I mean, this is one of your venerated franchises. Why can't you get this right?
Maybe they're scared of Dota. They just don't want Dota to happen again.
Yeah, they want to like just handicap it, kneecap it, so it just can't get to that point. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
I did watch Mike play some of this last night, and he hit one button and it went back to the old graphics instantaneously, and it was very funny to watch his chat and they're like, "Oh, it looks so much better. Oh, thank God." And I'm like, "Okay, I see that this is affecting you guys greatly." I don't notice it. But hey, I might play these games. I have always been Warcraft curious. And this seems like a decent way to play it, so I might do that.
I might do the same, Grubb. I checked out StarCraft 2 for the first time earlier this year. My brain is still broken, so maybe Warcraft 2 will help fix it.
Yeah, maybe. These are all like available in like a big package together, I think. During Wednesday's Warcraft 30th anniversary direct, Blizzard announced a series of updates to existing Warcraft games. For example, Warcraft Rumble is getting new heroes and will be playable on PC next month. Forgot about that game. And Warcraft spin-off card game. I think it's like I imagine it's like a Clash of Clans. It's a mobile game, I think. And Warcraft spin-off card game Hearthstone is getting a StarCraft mini expansion in January. Ooh. That's interesting. But the big news was the announcement and release of a new Warcraft RTS collection, bringing remastered versions of the first 3 games to a new generation via a just-released updated edition of the classic Battle Chest. So yeah, and that gets you Warcraft 3 Reforged as well, which again I think they did update to make it a little bit better. It's a 2.0 update. All right.
No, Warcraft Rumble does look like Clash Royale.
You can play that too. I like Clash Royale.
I need to stay away.
Oh boy. Oh no. South of Midnight's release month might have been revealed by mistake. This is from Jonas Mackey at Game Reactor. We've had a lot of news about South of Midnight in the last couple of days following the release of a lengthy documentary about the development, as well as further information revealed in interviews. Thanks to that, we now have a lot more light into the seemingly quirky action-adventure game, which lets us explore a fantasy version of the American Deep South. If people are trying to like place this game, it was the one in the Xbox showcases that had that, maybe not stop motion, but animated on the twos.
Yeah.
Sort of look to it. It was like, jerky, but in a positive way. It had a very strong style. The characters had a very strong visual appeal. And it was like, okay, we're going to tell a story about black characters in the American South. So it stood out in its distinction in that way as well. We have gotten a lot of information about it recently. But now there might be some indication of when it's coming out. What we don't know, however, is when it will be released. Xbox Game Studio hasn't wanted to be more precise than saying it's coming in 2025, but perhaps we've gotten a much better indication of the release date thanks to a possible mistake. Microsoft, Compulsion Games, and Cook and Becker have announced a massive vinyl edition with the music from the game. It's called the Art and Music of South of Midnight box set, and it's described as follows. The Art and Music of South of Midnight box set consists of a breathtaking 160-page art book with gold foil and gilded edges and a 2 LP vinyl with the full soundtrack of the game presented in a beautiful gatefold, all with original concept art and designs from the production of the game. To further expand upon Hero Hazel's magical and mysterious world, the set includes a gorgeous South of Midnight comic book by award-winning artist Rob Gilroy, an artwork on metal, and a big Tours fridge magnet featuring an alligator and an airboat. Previously, it was stated that this is no longer the quote. Previously, it was stated that the massive vinyl collection would be released on April 30th, 2025. But after people drew attention to this in the media and on social media, that has been mysteriously removed. Now people are theorizing, Jen, that they were asked to remove the date because maybe they aren't aware of like how sensitive this is for video game companies. And so they accidentally revealed a date that could tell the story of when the game is coming out, because people are like, would this come out before the game? Now, that's possible. It could come out April 30th and the game's coming out in May, but I don't think it comes out. I don't think this comes out in April 30th and then the game comes out in November, right? It's like if it comes out, it's a few weeks before the game at most, right?
Yeah, especially the way that they're formatting all of this extraneous stuff. I wouldn't. It just feels like both would get lost in the shuffle if you're not releasing them at least in close proximity to each other. That being said, Grubb, very excited for this game. Yep. I've been watching a lot of movies with airboats or boats in general. I think I want to get out on the water, Grubb.
Oh, damn.
But then I remember I don't know how to swim.
Well, life jackets they work. Just wear one of those. Be a safe boy. I really jive with the vibe of this game. I'm interested to see like a game that just feels this different. That is going to be refreshing, and it also looks like it's going to be action adventure. There's going to be meat to the bone of the game. So, not that if it was a narrative visual novel, I would have a problem with it. But it's like it just looks like, oh, they're really putting out a big game that feels different. I'm excited by that.
Yeah, and I'm excited for this to be coming out of Microsoft as well. Please, more like this.
Yep. Yeah. And I think that was the story of the development is they started making it, and as they were like, what can we just do to make this, feel like its own thing more and more, and that just led them down this path over here, and to star a black woman, and like, yeah, let's get that more of that. That would be great. All right, we're gonna take a break now. When we come back, more to talk about, including the future of maybe a PlayStation 5 game that could be coming out next year, as well as what's going on with that PlayStation 5 price cut that we talked about earlier this week. Right after this. All right, we are back. And you ever watch like the fastest 2 minutes that Chris Berman would do on Monday Night Football, where he would go do the whoop whoop, and then whenever like there was some weird thing happen, they go huh. When you were just doing that sound before the break, that's what it reminded me of, and it also reminded me I wanted to do that when we were introducing the show, and I said PlayStation's latest Switch game. I wanted to go huh, like Chris Berman.
I'm glad that I can pull at the strings in your memory, Grubb.
Yep, fastest 3 minutes. Thank you. The people over at Part of My Take, they do fastest 2 minutes. All right, Horizon the Horizon multiplayer game will release next year, according to a rumor. This is from Alex Hopley at Game Reactor. It's full steam ahead on the Horizon train as Sony and Guerrilla Games are once more working towards an upcoming release set in the post-apocalyptic American Midwest. After 2 solo adventures as Aloy, and we're ready to take on some robotic dinos with a friend, as Horizon is set to go multiplayer in its latest release that will come out in 2025. At least that's according to speculation leading from a new job listing. As spotted by eagle-eyed Joraptor over on Twitter, Guerrilla is looking for an intern that will help the online project through the first half of 2025. They'll be ensuring the game is ready to launch during that time, so we can imagine that pushes the release date to the second half of next year. Of course, nothing is official here, so keep that tinfoil hat on, but we do know a Horizon multiplayer game is in the works. Okay, as always, Jan, with these sorts of stories, it's like, okay, yeah, I mean, there's only so much you can glean from a job posting that was probably dictated to somebody by someone who might know something, and then that something they might know might be from someone who doesn't really have a decision about when this game is coming out, even in their head. So it's a chain of decisions that maybe this means something, maybe it doesn't. Now, let's accept that, okay, sure, this is coming out next year. That one makes sense, because if you have been working on this game since Horizon 2 and probably in parallel with Horizon 2, you were probably doing it with the hopes of this would be an in-between game between Horizon 2 and then whatever comes next to Horizon 3. And so you wouldn't want this to be like 5 years on, and you want to probably get most of the team working over there on the next big major single-player narrative adventure Horizon game. So get this out in 2025, if possible, sounds right to me.
Yeah, I mean, the tool set and resources or assets available for not Monster Hunter, Horizon must be pretty expansive, where, working in tandem or in parallel with
I swore really bad. Sorry, we cussed. With the existing teams, I feel like it is a doable job. I think I may be more interested in this than Lego Horizon. Yeah.
Just because, like, hey, the tools at your disposal as a player to hunt the different mechanical monsters can be pretty fun. It is pretty expansive. So doing that with like a gang of folk, that could be fun. Is everyone constantly talking, or is it just like dead silence?
Yeah, just like, oh, I should pick that up. Oh, my bag is full. I'll be doing that to you constantly. I can't wait.
My bag is full.
Yeah, I think I generally agree with you that I am at least academically curious in this one. I always like the idea of like having something fun to do multiplayer that could be a little bit different than the last game we tried. And Guerrilla has built a world that at least looks really beautiful and does have some cool mechanics. And if this means that there is a de-emphasis on kind of dragging me through the story, which I know a lot of people love, and I don't think it's done bad. It's just not for me. Then okay, maybe this one could be more for me. And either way, though, they're not building this game with the hopes of we got to win over Jeff Grubb. It is we are trying to build a bigger and bigger Horizon universe that gets more and more people in. So let's get the multiplayer in, so we can maybe get the kinds of people who are hesitant, and then they will be interested in going and checking out the other Horizon games, and that means having a new Horizon game, the real Horizon game after that. And, you know, we heard recently the reporting, I think, you know, Jason Schreier was telling us when we had him on the Bombcast that, you know, a lot of people from the team, they're not working on Horizon 3. They're all working on this Horizon multiplayer game. That is, they want to get past that. They want to get to a point where those people are working on the next big thing.
Yeah, I can't imagine. I'll say this, folks, at home, and I know you get frustrated any and every time we talk about Horizon. I don't think we're saying that Horizon is a bad game at any point.
Yeah.
It is just, we just bounce off of it. I think for me personally, it is a little too much like a Red Dead Redemption 2 for me. Where it feels like a bit more of a chore to play the game sometimes. That being said, I'll be open. I'll be bi-curious to this Horizons multiplayer game.
BUI.
BUI, guys. All right, come on.
Yeah.
And I'm curious to check it out. I think this is probably the better strategy in my head rather than doing Lego Horizons, because okay, you want to get that audience that plays games with their friends. This may be a good on-ramp where you have one diehard Horizon fan that gets their friends into it because it's a multiplayer game. It can be a game where you hang out in, right? Where maybe the story isn't as much of the focus because it is a multiplayer game where you and like 3 other Joe Schmoes can just goof off and hunt monsters and maybe go fishing for mechanical dolphins.
Yeah. Honestly sounds pleasant to me. So we'll see. And, you know, again, this rumor is it's barely a rumor. But I think when we kind of think about it circumstantially and where PlayStation's at and the kinds of games that they've been working on recently, and maybe like, you know, having recent disasters in the live service space, it's like, okay, Gorilla, you've done a lot of work here. We do think this one can work. We do want different things in the Horizon world, so we're not going to cancel this one, but maybe wrap things up. Maybe let's just kind of add some closure to this process, get this game done, get it out the door, and I think a second half of 2025 release date sounds like it would line up with that as well. So we'll see. Earlier this week, talked about a PS5 price cut for the holidays. There is an update there, and maybe it's a less certain than it was. Maybe it's a little bit more nebulous. PS5 price cut for the holidays has been edited out of new Sony trailer. This is from Eddie McHugh at GameSpot. On November 12th, Sony published a marketing trailer for the PlayStation 5 that ended with the announcement that the digital PlayStation 5 Slim would be marked down for the holidays. That trailer has since been edited and re-uploaded to remove all mention of the temporary discount. The trailer originally stated that the digital PS5 Slim would be on sale until December 24th for $380. The system originally launched for $400 before Sony raised the price to $450. Bringing it down to $380 for the holidays is a nice offer, and hopefully it comes back. Microsoft already slashed the price of the Xbox Series X by $50 for the holidays. I didn't know that. I guess I didn't realize that. The video has since been re-uploaded with many commenters poking fun at Sony for editing out mention of the deal. GameSpot has contacted Sony to try to find out what's going on here. What do you think, Jan? What do you think's happening?
I don't think they want to advertise a price cut super... I don't think they want to advertise for the price cut when they're struggling to sell the PS5 Pro is the basic gist of it, Grubb.
Yeah, I wonder if it's like putting it in a trailer from Sony makes it feel like this thing is like almost officially having a price cut that feels semi-permanent. Where, yeah, sure, they said it was through December 24th, but it's, you know, early November. I guess it's mid-November now. It's not that long, but it's like, you know, it still feels like there's a long time till Christmas. And we're not at Thanksgiving yet. People aren't really fully in the Christmas mood yet. And it's like, okay, for the next several weeks, this thing's going to be $380. it'll be hard for the thing to go back to 450 after that. That would feel pretty aggressive. So maybe they don't want to have it like just in a video forever that says this thing is $380, because then people will be like, wasn't this thing 380? And then also retailers. Some retailers are like, we can't do that price. That's just the way things are right now. That's too aggressive. We're not interested in even stocking more PS5s, Slims, if you're going to have to sell it at that price. So no, thank you. And I doubt most retailers are behaving that way, but maybe one or two are, and that has caused some headaches for Sony. And they're like, you know what? We will talk to our retailers, and they can put the $380 price tag in their holiday flyer, their Black Friday flyer that everyone gets when they walk in the store, or they open the website. They can announce it there, and that makes it feel more like a price cut at the retailer and less of a Sony mandated thing. Beyond that, though, Jan, I struggle to understand why they would have done this, because it's like, if you took all the time to put that into a video, that must have been like a decision that you all agreed on. Why backtrack on it?
I think you may be onto something about putting it into a trailer, and like an officially made video by PlayStation kind of just cements it as that it is forever going to be stuck at that price, rather than a temporary holiday price cut. Where now there's that expectation of going to a retailer. So you go to a Target, Walmart, wherever, and hey, PS5, the PlayStation said this is only $380. How come it's not? And then you'd have to go through the whole price match dealio. So perhaps that is a reason. Maybe they did feel external pressure from retailers. I feel real dumb as a consumer, Grubb, because the second you said $380, and I already have a PS5. Right, I don't need a PS5 Slim. I don't need a PS5 Pro.
Same.
But I hear that 380. I'm like, that's a good deal.
Yeah. I mean, I am like not like super interested in getting a second PS5, but I have thought about it here or there. And the plan was to just get a PS5 Pro. Again, 380, 700, twice as much almost, basically, effectively, especially well, I guess they both wouldn't have the disk drive, but once I start, honestly, I get a PS5 Pro. I do think I should get a disk drive for this, because it's the Pro. I want everything with it. I don't necessarily feel that way about the Slim Digital, but whatever. That's just me. That's not a fair comparison. Still, though, almost twice the price. So I'm like, well, the PS5 Pro is still not something that I'm just sitting around thinking maybe I will get that. That's going to take a real effort of saving money, putting it aside, and then going out and making that choice. 380 is a lot easier to just be like, oh, I got that money to spare right now. I should just go get that thing. So, I mean, I think that's what they want you to feel. That's what they want people to begin thinking about the PS5 at this point in its life cycle. We are deep enough that it's like, hey, we kind of want to start getting that next tier down of people who are more price sensitive. So again, it made sense when they made this announcement. It makes a lot less sense now that they've just completely re-edited the video. That's why it's like something must have gone wrong there.
Yeah, you think they thought like, hey, what if we don't do a price cut? What if we just put it out and people will just buy it?
Yeah.
Let's continue squeezing money out of people.
Yeah, part of it. I mean, I know they want to keep the price as high as possible for sure, but after last year, where they had several long-term aggressive price cuts for the PS5 to try to reach a certain number of PS5s sold, it seems like that's a tool they want to go back to. But I don't know. Maybe they just announced this in a different way at this point. Maybe it's got a special announcement. Maybe that's like, let's save that for right the week of Thanksgiving for Black Friday, so it can feel like a bigger splash even than what they were getting now. So yeah, maybe
a holiday-themed state of play, perhaps. I'm not saying anything, okay?
Yeah.
Folks at home, don't get worked up.
Yeah, Jan's saying it though. Everybody, you should get worked up. That state of play. I know the rumor was going around, but a December one that people were hoping for. Again, I just haven't heard about it. And when I asked people who would know, they hadn't heard either. So We'll see. Okay, last couple of stories here. Bethesda workers go on strike against Microsoft. We talked about this briefly yesterday. Let's just get a little bit more of the details. This is from Blair Marnell at GameSpot. Last year, quality assurance workers at Bethesda and ZeniMax Studios formed ZeniMax Workers United, the largest certified video game union in the United States. Now that union is putting its collective power to the test in a brief strike against Bethesda and ZeniMax's parent company, Microsoft. ZeniMax Workers United has been attempting to negotiate a deal with Microsoft over remote work requirements, while also limiting the number of outsourced QA workers who can be brought in on Bethesda's projects. The union didn't say who Microsoft, or didn't say, the union didn't say who Microsoft is outsourcing QA work to, but it accused the company in ignoring requests to negotiate. They have continually given us their first proposal again and again, and it's become obvious that our different mobilization tactics have not worked. QA test lead Rihanna Eckers said, told Inverse. Sorry, her name ends in said, and that threw me off. This one-day strike was called in an attempt to make Microsoft more receptive to addressing the union's concerns. This is like a tough one because it's like Microsoft has puts on this friendly front publicly about its position towards unions. And then, of course, internally, it's much stiffer. It works a lot stiffer. And that is causing, headaches for these union members. And so I think they're trying to demonstrate, here's what we could do to cause you more problems if we withheld our labor. I hope this shakes something loose at Microsoft. At the very least, it's getting attention.
Yeah. The more attention that this gets, I would assume the stronger case the Bethesda workers would have against Microsoft, because I strongly dislike Grubb. The little that I know about game development, it feels like QA teams across the board, whether they're internal or external, are constantly being misused and abused.
Yep. Yeah, it's I really dislike the return to work policies being used by these companies. I mentioned that yesterday. I'll just repeat. I hate that they really just think of it as a new way to fire employees without having to fire them. We can tell these people to return to the office, and if we do that, certain people won't return. We know it's a certain percentage, so we're going to save cost in an easy way. And if a union has the ability to get protections against that, they should do everything they can to establish that now. Because it's not going to get fixed by labor law. I mean, not anytime soon, for sure, and probably never. Realistically, in America, probably never. So, do what you can as a union to enshrine those protections, because that is an unfair lever that these companies can pull to use against you, and the temptation for them to use it will be too strong for them to resist under the capitalist system of, hey, we can get returns for our investors if we save this much money, but laying people off will look bad. So what can we do? Well, we can look good to our investors by telling them, say, we're going to be serious and tell them to return to work, come back to the office, and then at the same time we know we'll save money, which is what we really want. That's too tempting. It's for them to ignore, so they will keep doing it. So you got to get protections against that.
Grubb, here's a wild idea. Maybe these companies save money by just getting a smaller office, perhaps.
Yeah, right. I mean, there's so much of how they've invested in corporate real estate, office real estate is such this tangled web, and that's what they really don't want to deal with. So they just do all this other shit instead. And it's well, that's not our fault that you made these poor decisions like you always do, you weirdos. Last story. Eiji Aonuma explains why Zelda's gameplay takes priority over story. This is from Liam Doolin at Nintendo Life. Legend of Zelda's longtime producer, Eiji Aonuma, has recently been doing the press rounds to promote the new entry Echoes of Wisdom, but he's also been discussing the design philosophy of the Zelda series in general. Speaking to Washington Post reporter Gene Park recently, Aonuma shared one rather interesting fact, mentioning how his team always prioritizes the gameplay with the story then used as a vessel for the gameplay. Excuse me. Here's exactly what he said. I've never really made a game where you think of the story first and then go into gameplay. First, when you think of the gameplay, what you're trying to think of after that is how you can get players to understand that gameplay. The story becomes used as a vessel because it has a beginning and an end, and the players move through it. I think it would actually be kind of difficult to do the reverse and start with the story and then try to match the gameplay mechanics to that. And it's I bet this is how most people probably make games. Sure. And I think personally, I'm biased towards this. I think that's, if I'm going to play a game and I notice it feels this way, I'm probably going to prefer it. It's not the only way to make games, for sure. No. But I think it has benefited the Zelda franchise, right?
100%. It's interesting that there's, in this specific interview, there is the story isn't the bigger focus for Aonuma and the team. That being said, Tears of the Kingdom was probably one of the better of stories and
Absolutely,
games in the
yeah.
last couple of years for me.
Yep.
So whatever workflow they're deciding to do at Nintendo with Aonuma, keep doing that, dog. You're hitting it out of the park.
Yeah.
Keep doing Ascend, and then you can ascend with whatever else afterwards.
Yeah, and I think it just makes sense, right? You want to build something innovative in the gameplay, and then when you got to sort of fill in, kind of paint by numbers with the story a little bit, those confines can help rein you in and force you to focus on the things that will really be meaningful to people. And again, if the result is something that was as moving as Tears of the Kingdom, then I'm all for it. Although I know there's a lot of Zelda fans who don't love Tears of the Kingdom, but I think it's because it doesn't match the lore. I'm like, get out of here, you nerds. You damn nerds. All right, that's it for the headlines. We have a poll question. Let me get that up and going for everybody right here. And that means click this and that. And that's going to refresh. All right. Do you think the next Halo will release on PlayStation also? I'm going to say yes, but I'm not sure. And hey, maybe I just put it over the top there. 51% say yes. 49% say no.
Real tight.
Yeah, real flip of the coin there. Within the margin of error, I'm sure. Jan, I really don't know what this looks like other than when I was talking to Lucy about it yesterday, and I thought about it. This is how I like to think about a lot of things. On a longer term, if you really project things out in the future, what feels like it's going to happen by then? And by then, it's like, well, okay, 10, 15, 20 years from now, Halo's just on everything. PlayStation probably looks very different. It will be on PlayStation at that point. It'll be everywhere. So why, and if they're thinking long-term at Microsoft, which I think they are, why wouldn't they just say, let's just skip to that? And that's why I think Halo's on the next PlayStation, or on the next Halo's on PlayStation.
Yeah, I think with, the success of Black Ops 6 and, that releasing multi-platform, it is a no-brainer, especially with the Halo franchise kind of struggling where it is right now. Why not just expand as much as you can? Because Xbox or Microsoft isn't in the business of trying to sell you a specific box specifically anymore. They're just trying to reach the gamers where they're at. And if they can hit PlayStation fans, I think they will 100% do that. Also, there's something slightly cool and taboo about seeing Master Chief on a PlayStation 5.
Yep.
Imagine a Cortana skinned PS5.
Yeah. Apparently, there's rumors, and these rumors have been corroborated by a little bit of reporting, that Call of Duty is going to get item crossover, microtransaction crossovers with Halo and Gears of War and stuff like that. And so, Master Chief in Call of Duty and PlayStation is probably going to happen very soon. I mean, it was Master Chief in Fortnite, so maybe that's already happened.
Yeah.
But it's now it's going to happen in a Microsoft game as well. So,
it's only a matter of time as well, Grubb, until we see a mobile Halo shooter, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely right. Yep, a matter of time. We'll see. Okay, got a new poll question. We'll get to that in a second. Jan Ochoa, what do we have going on that we should tell people about?
Later today, we have an episode of Voicemail Dump Truck. Yep. Tomorrow, one last Game Mess Mornings before you depart for a well-deserved vacation, Grubb.
Looking forward to it. Yep.
Throw your phone. Well, no, you should take pictures of the fam, but I
need the Disney app. Yeah.
And you need the Disney app. Don't you dare check up on this website.
I'll do my best.
Tomorrow, GB Kids Next Door will be playing a bit of Black Ops 6. Maybe I can convince Sean and Nikki and Minotti, if Mike is free, to play some web fishing before that. Perhaps
I would like to see that.
And then next week and the following week are going to be a bit funky here on the website, Grubb. Apologies, folks, for things kind of being turbulent in terms of scheduling. Not only will Grubb be gone all week, but I will be gone for most of the week as well on some secret assignment stuff. And then the week after that is Thanksgiving, so it's a shorter week. But hey, the people will be holding down the fort.
Yep.
Don't worry about the days that we are gone, because maybe the days will be Sean.
Today, in a little bit, barring any last minute meetings, which have been happening recently, gonna try to do some VR stuff. before we go into voicemail dump truck. I got Batman VR ready to go on the headset. I just got to make sure that the connection to the PC for streaming it is good. I'm gonna do that next. So we'll probably start in about an hour. But yeah, I'm gonna do that. It'll be a good time. So I might play some Mud Runner VR as well if Batman can't keep us entertained for the whole time. We'll see. Which it probably will be able to. We'll see.
Okay.
All right. New poll question: are you getting Lego Horizon Adventures? Yes or no? Just answer honestly. Want to see how people are feeling. We'll get the results of that for Game Mess Mornings to talk about here on Giant Bomb tomorrow. One more time. Speaking of Giant Bomb, just stick with us. We'll have plenty of fun stuff. Definitely we'll have voicemail dump truck, all that stuff later. In the meantime, though, Jan, I think that's going to do it for us. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today and talking about video games, man. I really appreciate it.
It's the only way to start Thursday. Also, wish a speedy recovery to the homie Imran Khan.
Yeah, shout outs to Imran, man. He's a tough bastard. He's going to be fine. And yep, just looking forward to getting him back doing 100% of the stuff he's always done. I've always really respected him and hope he's all right. Okay, thank you all so much for watching. You are the best audience in gaming. Until next time, have a good one. Take care of yourself, and goodbye. See you for Game Mess Mornings tomorrow.